three pillars in comparison to the three pillars of Judaism. And angels is behind us. The rest of the book will be concerned with Moses and the Levitical institution. What do? Angels? They observe what we say. Make a note. They observe everything that is said tonight. That's why do not let too many of you become teachers, because I can have a problem with the tongue sometimes and so on. So they observe what we say. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 6. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 6. Have you ever been discouraged where you were not only shedding a tear, but you face an encounter in difficulties and you're sobbing? Do you know what they do? They observe the sufferings and they go back to God and they report. Francois is sobbing. I don't know what it's all about. Father will say to the angel, you don't need to know, I know. Why does he know? Because he became a man. He can relate. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he does not shed a corner of a tear. He was about to collapse. So they observe our suffering. They observe what we wear. Ladies, 1 Corinthians 11:10. He goes in the church. The ladies' father doesn't have their head covered. I know. It should not be that way. Let them go. They have the word. And they observe the soul of believers. They escort the soul of believers to heaven. Their spirit. So that's what they did. When you die, car accident, just to name that, your soul goes up to heaven. Not all the time. I don't know if it's all the time or always. They carry the soul, the immaterial part of man, to God. Precious is the death of the saints. Precious in the sight of God, the death of His precious one. Can you imagine? I did not smoke anything, I promise. Close your eyes a little bit, and a person dies, a Christian dies, and all of a sudden you see a white angel with 6 wings, a cherubim, or a seraphim order with the face of a horse, and the legs, and it flies, and it makes a sound, a rumbling sound, like Ichabod into the book of Ezekiel and so on. And he carries, and he, Father, here's the soul of Joe Blow. Yes, place it there. Yeah, but put it there on the shelf just for a few more months, because I need to reunite this spirit with his body in a few years. Oh no, it's not going to happen. It will happen because it is written. I'm done for tonight.
Francois, unless it's a long answer and you don't have time, I was wondering, why is there discrepancy about, like, Paul didn't sign this, or he didn't set it out the same way as usual, but maybe it was because he was coming to the end of his life or something and he had to do it quickly, or whatever, I don't know. But, I mean, he is the only one we know of, isn't he, that is so knowledgeable about all these things from his teachings that he had growing up.
Yeah, we don't know if it's Paul that wrote the book, though. Are you alluding to the book of Hebrews?
Yeah.
Yeah. The question was basically, how come he does it so quick?
No, how come there's a discrepancy that they say, well, we don't know if it was Paul, because who else is that knowledgeable to write it?
Oh, this is a no answer to that, dear Janet. I cannot give you an answer. If you hold the view that is Paul, you have the right to hold that view. Anybody has the right, but you cannot prove it.
Right.
Keep in mind.
Not that knowledgeable to know if there would be someone else. I mean, I guess they don't want to say definitely it's him because there's other contenders. But Paul
was not the only one which was an expert in Judaism. He was not the only one around. Lots of rabbis, they are expert in the law, in the Mosaic law, not in the oral law. This one is an expert in Judaism proper, which we call Mosaic Judaism. Is probably also very knowledgeable in Rabbinic Judaism, but what he quotes is basically Mosaic Judaism, which is proper. And Paul had contemporaries. There's scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees that came to Christ. And this one is a believer to write the book type of thing. What was he? We don't know, but we know that he is an expert in Judaism, for sure. Was he a Rosh Yeshiva, head of Rabbinical Academy? We don't know. Nevertheless, top-notch in Mosaic Judaism, which basically spoke of the Messiah. So what is behind us? Next week we do the first warning. Okay, I leave you with this. Now he was very, very straightforward in his comment to show the comparison between angels and the deity of Christ and even the humanity as being superior. But now it's going to drift away. That's why you will need the other page that you have, the one-pager with the 5 warnings on it, of it. And now he will take the practicality of what he just taught tonight and he will deviate. And then he will come back to the road of what he's intending to do. But 5 times he deviates from the course to give these guys, the recipient of the book of Hebrews, and us, a warning about what's coming. Such as, for them, the willingness to go back to the Levitical system, to a thing that is only good. They need to cling with the better. Okay? So that he will deviate next week into the first warning. Because when you take your page, you can see that the first warning is 2:1-4, which we have not done tonight. Chapter 2, verses 1-4. So this will be the warning. And the book of Hebrews contains 5 warnings in light of what's coming. In light of what is coming. François, what is coming? Not the end of time. The judgment of the unforgivable sin in AD 70. That's what's coming. If you take 1 minute and you plunk under the table the AD 70 judgment, you will be lost in the book and lost in the warnings. The back burner has always to have in mind that some of them are part of the same generation that commit the unforgivable sin. As individuals, they're out of it. They became believers. National, it's a national sin. But the judgment of it is coming 40 years after the blasphemy. The destruction in the temple in Jerusalem. And if they go back to the Levitical system, they will die physically, not spiritually. Never. Okay? You need to keep that here in order to understand the book of Hebrews. Because I do not want you to be led astray by so-called small group, those who use Hebrews chapter 6, verse 6 to teach you that you can lose your salvation. I repeat, calmly, the doctrine of losing the salvation is a demonic doctrine. Purely and simple. It doesn't come from God, it comes from the enemy that wants you to believe that you can lose it, but you cannot. Who would like to pray? One of you. Joyce, you have something to say right now.
Okay, so then we often use the term from people that were Christians and then use the term they backslidden because they've walked away. So is there such a term as backslidden?
Yeah,
then?
Absolutely. Yes, yeah. To remain in. There is such a term. There is such a.
It's a backslider then.
Yeah.
They lost their salvation?
Absolutely not. It's impossible to lose it. What they lose is the rewards in the Messianic kingdom, not the salvation. Not the salvation. If they lose something, they will lose their rewards based upon what they could have done for the kingdom's sake. they will have little to show, having remained in a state of immorality. Staying in a state of immaturity for a lifetime without moving on, it's backsliding for me. You cannot do alpha for 25 years. Can't. Cannot do alpha for 25 years. There's in Vancouver, that's all they do. Some move to Bravo -1, but they don't reach Delta. They don't have time for this because it's always vacation and long weekend. That's what we call sluggishness. And he will talk about being sluggish there.
Francois, how about when you hear all the time people will fall away or they're falling away?
Yes, the apostasy. Yeah, it's about the end time, dear Deborah. Okay? It's about the end time.
Not Christians who have fallen away?
Yeah, there is a falling away, but this is the most difficult, basically, the apostasy to define. It's professing a truth that they do not have. I cannot go there right now. I'm already 5 minutes late, but I'm going to talk about the apostasy in the program that I do tomorrow afternoon at 4. I already spoke about it last week. But the issue proper, the proper context, once saved genuinely, you cannot undo it. As much as we do not have the capacity to save ourselves, on the same token, we do not have the capacity to undo it. It's a work of Christ that is finished. Cannot fall from there, even in the worst case of immaturity. Don't take it as a license not to move on in spirituality.
That's what it's discussing in Romans.
Romans chapter 8, verses 33 to 39. Can somebody, one of you can take the move and pray?